A TGIF, everyone. Welcome into the First Call Podcast. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk. We're representing First Bet and Express Bet. This is our Friday podcast where we handicap 8 stakes races for each and every weekend. To those of you who joined us during Breeders' Cup week and are new to the scene, welcome aboard. We do this each and every Friday. And of course, our Tuesday, It's Official podcast is our recap. So glad to have a new audience along, Jeff, after the Breeders' Cup. And I guess post-Breeders' Cup, we don't have a lot of championship races and discussions to talk about this weekend, but we got some good betting.
What I like to see the next couple of months is the development of the young horses and the future stars, to see who could come on the scene and see where we're at there. Of course, we've got the big meeting at Gulfstream Park coming up shortly, so that would be fun. So there's still plenty of important racing. Racing never stops. It's year-round, and there's always something you can latch onto. This week, we're latching on the possibility, the prospect of maybe recouping our losses from last week. I knew it was going to be tough. I really did. You have so many variables when you're handicapping and trying to make money with the Breeders' Cup, and you have to recognize and accept the fact that there are going to be form reversals. And there were. And there were several horses in every Breeders' Cup that could have won. You could see envisioning winning. The one horse that both of us thought, Cogburn, that couldn't lose, did. So that's the way it goes.
Didn't like the board.
Yeah. So, but hopefully we can make some money. We got some good racing at Woodbine, a couple of nice stakes at Churchill. The Big A's got some races as well. So there are possibilities. I got some price chances here that we might be able to latch onto. So let's dive in and see if we can make some money this weekend.
My experience with the Breeders' Cup over 41 years now is you're either in the outhouse or the penthouse. You either really have a big Breeders' Cup or you get it handed to you. There's not a whole lot of, hey, I broke evens when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. Whereas on a day-to-day wagering, you're hoping to break even, cut a little profit, and win the grind. Breeders' Cup's not about the grind. So let's get back to the grind and see what we can do this weekend. 4 stakes races coming up on Saturday, November 9th. For those of you watching on X or on YouTube, be sure to comment, help share this out, hit that like button, help us build the audience here. For those of you on our traditional audio podcast channels, here is a listen to the 8 races that Jeff and I will handicap over the next 40 minutes or so. We'll start at Woodbine with a trio of stakes races, including the Maple Leaf, the Bessarabian, and the Autumn Stakes. To Churchill Downs, we'll go for a couple, one on the main, the Dream Supreme, the River City for the Grass Runners. Then to Aqueduct for the Hills Prince, the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship, and the Red Smith. Everything on the turf in the stakes ranks at Aqueduct coming up this weekend. A couple handicapping tournaments Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Del Mar feeders towards big money tournaments later in the season. You can play those feeders for just $40. Be sure to check out the tournament section at expressbet.com only. No first bet tournaments, all at expressbet.com if you want to get in on the tournament scene. Jeff, interesting this weekend. We have a couple marquee horses north of the border. We have not only this year's King's Plate winner, but we have last year's as well. So the last 2 King's Plate winners are in action at Woodbine. That's where we're going to start our handicapping in the Maple Leaf Stakes, race number 7 on the card. 1.25 miles here for the Maple Leaf. And again, we've got the horse who won the King's Plate in here a couple of years ago, or this year, I should say, in Caitlin Her Greatness. She's a 3-year-old filly taking on the elders now. She beat the boys in the King's Plate. Now she's back with her own, but she's with elder horses for the first time. Talk about maybe her chances in here in the 1.25 miles Maple Leaf and who you went with.
Well, she's fast on figs. She's drawn way out in the 13-hole. Caitlin Her Greatness, but she could win. I mean, I'm not going to knock her. I'm not going to say she couldn't. I tried for what I thought would be a better price. Turns out she's not on the morning line. 4-1 on Queen Regent, a winner at Kentucky Downs in her U.S. debut. And that was 2 races back, and then flopped as the favorite at Keeneland. I don't know what happened to her that day, but she's back on all weather. And one of the things that I look for in these, and this race is a 1.25 miles, which is also kind of unique. You don't see too many 1.25 miles main track races, although the all weather at Woodbine is kind of halfway there. It's between grass and dirt. But Queen Regent had some very, very good races overseas on various all weather tracks. I think she won 5 races at 5 different tracks on the all-weather there, or close to that, something like that. Then she came off the plane and won at Kentucky Downs, flop last time, but she's back on the synthetic, and she's also going 1.25 miles, which I think is going to be her trip. She ran very well over all weather at 1.25 miles again overseas, or good time form numbers, and her poor run last time notwithstanding for Brendan Walsh, I think she's capable of bouncing back. So at 4-1 on the morning line, pretty confident that she's going to run well. Whether it's well enough remains to be seen, but I would be very surprised in a race that she figures to get a good second flight stalking trip outside that she doesn't fire her best shot, and that might be good enough. Queen Regent is her name, 4-1 on the morning line.
Let's take a look at her win at Kentucky Downs 2 starts back and introduce you to her as she heads to Canada next.
Under a hand ride here. Still a 1/4 mile to run. Take shape in the clear with a 4-length lead. Up into second is Queen Regent trying to close the gap now, and she's doing it. And so too is Heart Spin on the outside. These two taking aim at that front runner. Chilled has moved up into 4th. Queen Regent, Heart Spin. Now it's these two. Here's the wire. Queen Regent and Tyler Gaffleone did it.
That'll be Jeff's pick in the first of our 8 stakes races, the Maple Leaf at Woodbine, Queen Regent. Let's go to the Bessarabian next up. Bessarabian, the favorite for the inaugural Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. She was a good one from Canada, ended up winning 18 of 37 lifetime. Jeff, she's the answer to a trivia question. We remember Franz Valentine in the very first Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies disqualified, one of the few horses ever disqualified for interference in the Breeders' Cup. The filly that she bumped, Bessarabian. So the stake's named after her, not for that anomaly and factoid, but the fact that she was a Canadian champion. 7 furlong sprint here for the fillies and mares. Who do you like in race number 8, Bessarabian?
Well, in looking at this race, again, this is a weird race because it's 7/8 of a mile, and not a lot of front speed type of horses in here. And I know that pace in these all-weather races tend to be a little bit slower than you have in the dirt. One of the reasons are there's no kickback, so guys aren't the jockeys aren't necessarily committed to busting out there and getting in the clear. They can ride it kind of like a turf race. I ended up with Gallon a Rush in here. Again, very solid mare, Go Zapper mare. Has run well at Woodbine in the past. Her last several races, last couple anyway, were again synthetic races. She ran very well. Group 3 placing over this track and distance 2 races back. Good third in the Masters, which is a tough race, tougher than this at Presque Isle, another all-weather track. So she's in good form. Always feel confident when I play Christophe Clement's horses. They usually run like they're supposed to. Healthy work pattern since her freshening, and a couple of months off, I think will be fine. She can fire fresh. Again, no reason to believe she won't run well. I mean, these races are tough. But at 3-1 in the morning line, that's a square price for Gallon a Rush. So I'll put her on top, and hopefully she runs her best race in the Bessarabian.
We know she can handle the track. She did so in the Hendry Stakes. Let's go back and take a look at that.
Pants running on. In the center is Marissa's Lady, and over on the inside, Awesome Treat. And as they come down the home stretch, trying to get a run as Freedom Speaks. Owens to a guy, Play the Music, and Gallon a Rush is really rushing home right down the extreme outside from the back. Owens to a guy, Play the Music, but Gallon a Rush, what a storming finish in the Hendry Stakes to come from last to first. A beautiful win by Kazushi Kimura. Gallon a Rush first, Owens to a guide second, Play the Music third, then Awesome Treat in the
similar trip that she's going to get should be Love to Shop. They should both be rallying at the same time. Love to Shop came wide last time, just missed. She was runner-up in this race last year. To me, she's the other one, and they have a similar style. So if one gets the trip, they might both get the trip. Could be looking at the exacta there. Love to Shop, the one I'm looking at. Gallon a Rush for Jeff in the Bessarabian Stakes. Let's go to the Autumn Stakes, our second King's Plate winner of the card, showing up in here. The Autumn Stakes at 1 1/8 on the main track. 2 years ago, the Colt Paramount Prince was or a year ago, I should say, 2 times ago. The King's Plate winner was Paramount Prince for trainer Mark Cassie. Cassie and Patrick Cousins team back up with Paramount Prince in this one. he had just a baffling performance last time out in the Durham Cup. He set the pace in there and really backed up. He went a little quicker than he's used to going, and maybe it was one of those where he just went a little faster and couldn't handle it under 125 pounds, but he carries 125 again, a mile and an eighth trip here, even farther. I'm going to try to beat Paramount Prince for the second race in a row. He looked kind of unbeatable through the Dominion Day and the Siegel Cup, but I don't know, maybe the wheels came off a little bit last time out. Who are you looking for in the Autumn Stakes, Jeff?
I looked at it similar to what you just said. I'm going to try to beat him with Forever Super. He's perfect, undefeated in 3 starts over all weather. I like that. The outside post won't bother him because I think he'll have a chance to get over and secure a stalking spot, which is where he wants to be. But the funny thing is, if it really comes up slow and somehow they say, if you want the lead, go for it, which I don't think is going to happen. But if it did, he can win. He can win on the lead as well, as he did 3 races back. So he's a versatile horse. Again, another horse who's been freshened. Good recent form. Numbers are very solid, very consistent horse. Knows how to win races, that's for sure. As you can see, 50% win. So again, another situation. I expect him to run his race. If it's good enough, he'll win. If it's not, it won't. He won't. But again, I can depend on him to lay his body down and get a good trip. So I'm sticking at 3-1 on the morning line with number 12 Forever Super to win the Autumn.
He's trying to win for the 4th time in a row. Last time out, it was in the Presque Isle Downs Mile.
Off the turn, KC Chief holds the lead. Outside, Forever Super coming after the leader. Right behind them, Ron Doers asked for more and coming after the top pair. It's still KC Chief and Forever Super. One of these two as they head to the wire. It's going to be Forever Super to win the Presque Isle Mile.
You know,
Jeff, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jeremy, you notice in these all-weather races that they all kind of finish in a heap, and that's normally not a good sign. But I see that a lot in synthetic races because there is no kickback, and horses will run in there, and they seem to grab it better. So that usually is kind of a negative thing for me when I see that. But with all-weather, with synthetic tracks, that's what you have to expect. And it's funny that I was watching these synthetic races at Woodbine because here at Santa Anita, we're going to have all weather again. It's going to be on the training track. That's going to be a trip. And I don't think they're going to card them, but they're going to use them when they have to take races off the grass. So they'll transfer it to the training track, which is only 6.5 furlongs in circumference. But at least most of the horses that were entered won't scratch. They'll say, okay, I'm a grass horse, but I'll run on the synthetic. Right. Thinking ahead of trying to make a morning line for those races is going to be but it's going to be fun. I'm a very strong all-weather synthetic proponent, so I don't mind, and that's why I like betting on Woodbine because usually, you know, if you're a fan, you know, your horse is always within range. You know, you won't be dead by the half-mile pole usually. And, you know, most horses will handle it. So anyway, I'll see if Forever Super can get there. What about you in this race?
I went with Never Surprise here, 10-1 in the morning line. I don't think we're going to get 10-1 coming off that big win last time out in Allowance Company. This is a former Todd Pletcher trainee. Rapoli Stables sent some horses up to Kevin Attard in Canada. It's been bet to the favorite spot in all 4 starts. Last time finally put it back together. The workouts on the synthetic are blazing of late. And this is a horse who really was never bred for the turf per se by constitution out of a Tisnao mare. So might be an in-betweener where this synthetic just kind of fits, has good turf form, bred for the dirt, and maybe the synthetic will just work out all right. He's never run on the synthetic, but the workouts are exceptional. 46-2 Breeze Bullet, fastest of 67 coming into this one. So I'm going to give Kevin Attard, a high percentage trainer, with Never Surprise. I don't think we're going to get 10-1. I'd say fair odds maybe around 6. I wouldn't go much lower than that for sure. If you're under 6, you're probably an underlay price. So I'll take my shot in there in race number 9. But we're both going to try to beat Paramount Prince, the horse who won the King's Plate last year. Let's go to Churchill Downs now on Saturday. They've got their stakes races lined up, second, third week of the meet at Churchill Downs, where the Dream Supreme in the River City are the 2 stakes races on the program. Dream Supreme will be race number 8. You might remember that filly. She was a good 7 furlonger, man. She was as good a 7 furlonger as we saw in the early 2000s. Bill Mott, George Steinbrenner. She's also been a pretty good broodmare. She produced Gulfport, and she also produced Majestic Warrior, who won the Hopeful. So she had a pretty good broodmare career as well. Dream Supreme at 6 furlongs, it should be 7. I mean, she was a 7 furlong specialist, winning the Ballerina, the Princess Rooney, the Humana Distaff, the Test. If it was 7 furlongs, that was her kind of race, and that was her distance. But we're just going 6 furlongs here at Churchill. Jeff, decent field size in here to work with. We've got 9 of them entered. Who'd you end up with?
Tough race. I originally looked at Spirit Win, but last couple of runs were disappointing. I don't know whether she's at 5, turning 6, wanting to go home and be a broodmare or not, but certainly on her best day, if you go back to some of her races there in the spring, even her win in the Honorable Miss is really, good enough to win for sure. Mystic Pleasure isn't as fast, or at least base hadn't been as fast on figures as Spirit Win had been, but she earned a career top number when winning a very strong allowance race at Keeneland. I think if she were to run back to that race, she would have a very good chance of winning this race. She's got a prior win at Churchill Downs, which is good. I just think that she's probably going to lay fairly close and have every chance, and she knows how to win. So, I mean, it's splitting hairs, but I'm going to go with the horse in form, at least the filly that looks like she's in better form, and that's Mystic Pleasure. And, she won going 6.5, but she can back up just as easily. So for me, number 5, Mystic Pleasure, a slight edge to win the Dream Supreme.
We're in agreement on this one. Giroux rides for Rudy Brisset, who just had an outstanding Keeneland meet, his best meet ever at Keeneland. And he's come back to start Churchill with 6 of his first 7 entries of the meet. Ran in the exacta. I mean, so Rudy Brisset's horses are all popping. One of those who got a victory for him at Keeneland was this filly, Mystic Pleasure.
Track still in 5 lengths away, though. In the meantime, Mystic Pleasure right alongside of Uppercase. Uppercase, Mystic Pleasure. Stride for stride, although Uppercase still maintains a short lead, a half length, 16th to go, a 16th left for Mystic Pleasure to find something more to try to get by a stubborn Uppercase. Mystic Pleasure right alongside. Uppercase is there. Mystic Pleasure gets up to win it. Uppercase was across the line in 2nd position. Pistol further back.
Yeah, back to 3rd there. That's what you like to see. And being able to pass a horse in a sprint race at Keeneland, that's not easy to do. So while it might have looked workmanlike, the fact that there were 6 lengths back to 3rd and you ran down a horse on the lead going 6.5 at Keeneland is actually a better than it looks effort.
And she earned a 96 buyer number, which is good enough to win. Let me ask you a question, because you're the expert there in the Midwest. Do you take Keeneland form? And I know this filly's already won at Churchill. She doesn't have to prove anything. But do you have confidence in the Keeneland form transferring to Churchill? Because you get a lot of horses that go back and forth.
Yeah, I would say I'm confident in the company lines at Keeneland, that they're going to be strong races and probably stronger races. But if a horse just like popped up and ran well at Keeneland and hadn't run well other places, it can be a horse for course track. So,
right.
If the previous form kind of looks out of place with the effort at Keeneland, then I won't give it as much credit. But all things being equal, if this horse has run well other places and ran well during the Keeneland meet, absolutely, I move that up. And certainly any horse who makes up ground at Keeneland on the main track has to be moved up when it comes to Churchill, because Churchill's not a speed favoring as Keeneland is historically. So those are the kind of elements I'm looking at when I go from Keeneland to Churchill and other places. Let's go to the River City Stakes. Churchill Downs, race number 10 on the card to the turf courts. Mile and an eighth here for a purse of $300,000. Some names you're very familiar with. Emmanuel Hades, who earlier this year won the Holy Bull Stakes on the Triple Crown Trail. Master of Foxhounds, horse from out in your neck of the woods, Jeff, who's been out there forever. You've got Public Sector in here, Battle of Normandy, a good-looking group in here. Veteran group, they're not quite up at the level of Breeders' Cup horses, but this is a pretty good secondary graded stakes race.
Master of Foxhounds caught my eye at 12-1 in the morning line. He's been spotty in terms of his racing. In fact, he's only had 2 starts since last year's Breeders' Cup Mile, which he was in. He was 74-1, so he was overmatched.
Right.
But Phil D'Amato's got a few back there, and he ran well at Indiana and yielding ground. It looked like he had his chance at Keeneland in his most recent start. Didn't run badly, ran second. Right. He looks like he might be rounding the form. And again, if they give him the front end, which they might. I mean, these horses. I mean, you look at if it's not him on the lead. I mean, Wonderful Justice was on the lead at Aqueduct in his last race and went 3/4 and 14. So I don't know about that.
Right.
He might, in his third start, although he's had gaps in between races, he might be set for a race. I would certainly use him on my ticket. Ended up though with Battle of Normandy because he's going to get that stalking, pace pressing style, and it's going to be slow. And he's won his last two. I like horses, last three, I should say. I like horses that can win clear. I like horses that can win on the lead. I like horses that can win off the pace if required. And I like horses who can win photos. They don't wave the white flag under pressure in the final 16th of a mile. He gives you that extra. He hasn't been over-raced for Shug, and I think you can count on him. He's 6-1. I think, he's not, again, quite as fast as some of the others, but he's an improving son of, and I say fast, I mean by speed figures. He's an improving son of City of Light. They tend to get better as he did. I think there's a forward move in there for him, and I think the trip's going to be good for him. So at 6-1, I'll try Battle of Normandy. I'll have some tickets with Master of Foxhounds as well, just in case, they disrespect him.
Shug McGahee won this race last year with Smokin' Tea. He, as we will talk about Aqueduct in just a moment, he's got some horses for these turf races late in the year that you can tell are part of his program. He wins these same stakes races repeatedly over the years this time of the season. He's got Battle of Normandy on a 3-race win streak. Let's take a look at his most recent.
Is asked the question, and at the top of the lane, it's Kubrick who's now kicked. Kubrick is quickly sprinting, but Battle of Normandy is ready to pounce. Still got the leader in sights. Kubrick is still up by that half length. Battle of Normandy with every shot, and the winner is. Here comes and the winner is to the outside. Battle of Normandy in between horses. Kubrick right there. 3 noses on the line. Battle of Normandy in between. Battle of Normandy in a photo with and the winner is to the outside.
I always respect the horse who can win between horses like that. They just never seem to do so. A gutty win there for Battle of Normandy. To me, it's he and Master of Foxhounds. I think that's where the race runs through that pair. Let's go to Aqueduct on Saturday for a trio of stakes races at the Big A. We're going to be on the grass for the Hill Prince Stakes, 1 1/8 miles on the turf. The Hill Prince restricted to 3-year-olds. Of course, Hill Prince, the runner that this race is named for, the 1950 Preakness winner and a Hall of Famer in his own right. We've got Shug McGahee representing in this race. We talked about how this time of year, McGahee's got a pretty good record in some of these stakes races we're talking about this weekend. In 2022 with Celestial City, he won the Hill Prince. In 2023 with Integration, he won. He's going to try to do it again with Cugino, Jeff, does he?
I think he does. I mean, if you can excuse his Nashville Derby race at Kentucky Downs, was well back that day, and I just didn't fire. But 2 races back, he won the Audubon at Churchill. He did that on the lead, but he's never really been a lead horse. I mean, he likes to lay sets off the pace and then kick home. And the fact that he showed the versatility 2 races back to win at Churchill and earn a 91 Beyer number, which is good enough to win this group, beat this group. I went with him. Flavian Pratt, who seems to alter the results. Let's put it that way.
He certainly impacts them, that's for sure.
That's probably a better word than alter, but he impacts the race. Now in this race, he's going to sit second because Bartlett's going to go. I've told you that I have abandoned my selections for Parks horses. I wanted to play this horse because he's lone speed, controlling speed. He's improving, lightly raced, and he's by not this time. And I don't know whether he'll like the grass. Why wouldn't he? So I wanted to take him at 8-1, and I just wouldn't permit myself to do so because
you're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm coming around now, and I'm just hope that Bartlett, again, the shipper from Parks, the inside speed, will provide a target for Cugino to go and follow, and then Cugino can go after him. I looked at Bartlett, and the one thing, he earned a 94 Beyer number, again, very fast, but the field kind of came together in that race. I don't know whether, again, that's a perfect example of why I don't trust Park's speed figures, because they don't look like they're going that fast, and then they ship somewhere else and they don't. So anyway, I'm going to go with Cugino, 5-2. Pratt and Shug, versatile, improving, good, nice colt, improving twirling candy colt, should get a great trip. shouldn't have any excuses. So Cugino for me to be deterministic, and whoever else will make a run in it, and probably all will in this year's edition of the Hill Prince.
Let's see him at his best. Cugino winning the Audubon Stakes this summer at Churchill.
These two, 1-2 off the turn. Cugino, the one to catch. Formidable Man is set down for the drive now. Second, Laginos is cut loose. Rockin' a Halo cameo performance is struggling in behind. There's a furlong to go. Cugino kicks away. Cugino by 4. Camaro Z comes on with Laginos, rocking a halo on the outside, but they're down to the wire. And Cugino took them all the way to score by 4.
See if he can do it again on Saturday. Opposition in this race, Royal Majesty for Bill Mott. This one's been in some of the classier 3-year-old turf races this season. Mott, just a 4-time winner of the Hill Prince over the years, so he and Shug have had a lot of success in this race. I also thought the 4 Main Beach worth a look in here for trainer Chad Brown. 4th last time beating a length in Allowance Company at Saratoga, but the winner that day, West Hollywood, came back to win the Saranac Stakes. So that was a stakes caliber allowance race in there, and this is kind of a lightly raced horse, comes in completely freshened since the summer, and you get Irad Ortiz riding for Chad. Main Beach, the horse in here for me at a little bit maybe of a minor upset, but you're never going to get much of a price on Chad and Irad, even when they're stepping up in class. Let's go to the 8th race on the card. It's the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship, 6 furlongs here. They ran the Belmont Turf Sprint Championship at Aqueduct earlier when it was named the Belmont at Aqueduct meet, but this is actually the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship now, the real one. The race just debuted in 2017, so it's not a race with a ton of history to it. Jeff, you talked about Flavian Pratt altering the results of races. I'm hoping he alters the result of the Turf Sprint Championship because I've got him on top with Outlaw Kid in here. Who'd you go with?
I tried Outlaw Kid last time when he went up to Woodbine, and I thought he had his chance and got swallowed up late. But again, he's another one of these horses that is very eligible to bounce back. You've got the Pratt factor for sure. You've got the proven form over the course. He is absolutely a major contender, major player in here. And several of those speed figures, buyer numbers that are good enough to win. I would use him if I was playing any kind of rolling exotics for sure on my ticket. Senbei, I kind of went with him. Another one of these horse for course turf sprinters. Candy Ride Geldings, 2 out of 3 at Aqueduct, in good form. Earned a career top buyer number in his most recent start, which was the Belmont Turf Sprint. But he's, again, just as capable of winning here. He's got a style where, he lays off the pace and makes a run. But if the pace is slow, he can lay close up, kind of a versatile type. And just won under Franco. So when they try him again, and again, I talked at the top of the show how fond I am of playing Christophe Clement's horses when I play them, because I know that they will run what they're supposed to do. And 5-2, he's 5-2, 5 on Outlaw Kid. The other one's better price. Either one could win. But again, coming off a nice fast win at Aqueduct, Sunbay to me would be my slight top pick.
Let's see him win that Belmont Turf Sprint Championship over the same course.
Determined Kingdom, who wanted to get to the lead and got there. Nothing Better tries to come right back. Alagon is coming after them 3 wide. Nothing Better and Determined Kingdom throwing it down. Here comes Alagon right upon rivals here towards the outside. Mischievous Angel is rallying on towards the inside. And Senbei on the grandstand side. They are far out in the turf course, but Senbei has now swept on by. Senbei will get the victory here in the Belmont Turf Sprint. Senbei wins it. Nothing Better battled back there for second. Then came a photo.
All right, we see if we could get the rare sweep of the Belmont Turf Sprint Championship and the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship over the exact same course.
One thing I wanted to point out, Jeremy, that it's one thing for a closer to go after one leader and then get by at the stretch and the final strides. That's good. This horse went by 5 horses in the last last 70 yards or so. So he had to go after 5 of them, and he went by all of them. That to me was impressive. And if he does that again over the same course and distance, and obviously he should be tough.
Let's wrap things up with the Express Bet race of the week. It's the Red Smith Handicap Grade 2, mile and 3/8 at Aqueduct on Saturday. Purse here is $300,000 and a pretty good veteran cast in here, a couple millionaires. You got the defending champion, Masterpiece, in here, going for Rick Dutrow, trying to win this race back-to-back. I believe there have been two others who were two-time winners of the Red Smith over the years. Of course, named for the famed sports writer in New York. Integration was a winner on this card a year ago. He won the Hill Prince Stakes as a 3-year-old, now as an older horse. He's had a decent season this year, runner-up in the Arlington Million, won the Arlington Million Preview, fourth in the big race on Derby Day, the Turf Classic at Churchill Downs. So he's competed at some high levels in here. Integration one I think you've got to look at with Shug McGahee, a 4-time winner of the Red Smith. Like we talked about Shug aiming for some of these races late in the year. He's got Integration in here trying to get a 5th win and add to his record in this particular stakes. Masterpiece, there's a lot of history between those horses, those connections, and they also have pretty good form. So to me, Integration and Masterpiece are most interesting in here to me, but there's one stepping up in class I know you got your eye on.
Well, I'm talking about Rebel Red, or you are, and I am. And Rebel Red is a Franco Colt, and the only angle that I'm using here, other than the fact that he's 8-1, and I'd like to, gamble on a price, is the fact that this is the first time that he will be tested over a mini marathon distance, which I have a hunch he'll like. He certainly was visually pleasing at Keeneland over middle distance, but he's a lightly raced colt. He wasn't obviously very much well regarded when he was started out as a 2-year-old, but he's done a good job. His numbers are very fast in terms of his middle distance races. I thought he had a good chance to win the Bernard Baruch 2 races back. He simply didn't fire that day. The pace situation wasn't to his liking, and maybe this one won't be either. Maybe he's the kind of colt that needs help up front. But I'm ready. I'm willing to gamble that this 3-turn trip, it is a 3-turn trip, right? Is going to be to his liking. He's going to drop back, get some cover, 2-minute lick it to the 3/8 pole, and then try to kick home. And if he can do that, he's got a chance at a price. So in a grass grab bag, I looked at Integration. Other than that runaway win in the bog that he got when he won 3 races back at Colonial, he hasn't made the progress that I thought he was going to make this year as a 4-year-old. And he certainly looked like he was going to be a major turf contender. But he's good, don't get me wrong, but he's not as good as I thought he would be. But capable of winning this race under Pratt, absolutely, no question about it. So again, if you're playing rolling exotics, you probably want to put him on your ticket somewhere. But the gamble for me on the win pool is Rebel Red.
The new face to the Big A scene. If you haven't seen him, Rebel Red. Let's go back to that victory at Keeneland, where he's now won 3 of his last 4.
And Boyce, then Degree of Risk up on the far outside, who's still in 4th. Cowboy Justice 5th behind Horses. And then Villain, who is running along in 7th. Here comes Freedom Trail with a late run. Boyce is in front. Here comes the favorite, Rebel Red, and it's over. Rebel Red just right on past the leaders. Rebel Red, Jose.
Stop me if you've seen that before with Cherie DeVos' horses just following them up in the stretch with almost a hand ride rally. Her horses are just really firing since the Keeneland meet and in through the Breeders' Cup, which we saw, just that spectacular performance, more than looks in the Breeders' Cup miles. So you're in the right hands with Cherie DeVos right now, Jeff. And if you can get any kind of price there on the step up in class, good value play there.
8-1 in the morning line. And it's not lost on me that this horse is a perfect 3 for 3 under Ortiz. I mean, he hasn't won for anybody else. So, I mean, this horse and jockey combo they get along. So, and I guess sometimes these horses are a bit quirky, and you can't do anything with them until the last 16th of a mile, and that's what Rebel Red does. And I think the jock realizes that. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out at this level, at this distance.
Rebel Red and a Red Smith. It just makes sense, doesn't it?
All right. Yeah. How about you now? This was your race of the week. Can you give us a?
Yeah. I went back to Masterpiece, the defending champ in the race for Dutrow, and I think Integration's got a shot to be the under. So I'm going to go with those two. But if you're 8-1 on Rebel Red, I think you're getting a better value than I am with the way I see the race.
By the way, I have another one of my rules that I want to throw at you. I looked at Masterpiece because he was out here in California, and the form looks okay. But one of my rules is, and it's like rule number 78, I think, in my book, which I haven't written yet, is never play a horse that got beat by Cabo Spirit. See if that works.
So you're throwing everybody out of the John Henry Turf Championship out there, right?
At least for 1 year, anyway.
The California Crown.
Yeah, I have these hangups that you don't have, and I'd rather not have them, but I have them, so I got to live.
I got all kinds of hangups, man. I got hangups all over. But when it comes to handicap, I got grudges, and when I have grudges, that's the worst part of handicapping there. But I'm over one of my grudges, I guess, because I'm taking Masterpiece with Rick Dutrow. I used to try to pick against every Dutrow horse because I had a grudge, and I'm taking him here. So maybe I'm in my older age, softening up a little bit with that.
Yeah, maybe.
That's going to wrap up our handicapping for our 8 stakes races this weekend. Also want to remind you, 3 stakes races on the card at Laurel Park on Saturday. Good looking action there. If you want some help handicapping the Laurel Stakes on Saturday, be sure to check back later today, tomorrow morning, for Eddie Olczyk's hat trick video on social media channels for First Bet and Express Bet, and also on our blog pages. We'll have Edzo's hat trick lined up for you for the stakes races at Laurel on Saturday. So good day of racing today on Friday. A lot of stakes around the country. Delta Downs has their big Delta Mile card with 4 stakes tonight. Remington Park's got 3 stakes tonight. And at Aqueduct, 3 stakes in the afternoon, or 2 or 3 stakes I think 2 in the afternoon today at Aqueduct. So we've got like 8, 9 stakes races around the country for a Friday, a rarity. So enjoy that action from sun up till midnight when they go through at Delta and Remington way into the evening. Hope you have a great weekend. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday when we have our It's Official podcast. We'll recap the stories of the week and maybe look ahead to some championship title talk and things like that this time of year that starts to heat up for the Eclipse Awards discussions post Breeders' Cup. Jeff, I'll give you the final word on this weekend's card, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, no, it's good. Challenging card. We got some price chances. Del Mar, they have a race called the Cary Grant, which we did not handicap, just 5 runners there. We thought we'd give you a little bit better price chances, bigger fields, but good card at Del Mar. So if you're playing California, you can look forward to that. And we'll see what happens there. But some, Aqueduct, I just hope we have good weather so we get good grass racing. If we do, dive in and make some money.
Been beautiful in the Northeast. It shouldn't change in the next 24. Let's cross our fingers for that. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.